It's been a pretty busy week, right, in terms of action from all over the world. We had Supreme Court wrapping the High Court decision, which we covered a couple of weeks ago about banning thug life, and Supreme Court came heavily down on High Court, saying that what you did or what you said was not warranted, and that you shouldn't have asked apology and just stuck to the law, right? So that was one thing, and then we have a great war unfortunately going on between Israel and Iran. So it's been kind of action packed. And India seems to be doing well in England. Okay, let's see. So anyway, this week I want to bring some important discussion back into focus, and that's pretty much on muscle, right? In general, you know that I speak quite often about wellness and fitness, but today I'm going to talk specifically about the function of muscles and the role of muscles as an endocrine organ and a longevity organ that most people may not be aware of. And these are some things that I personally learned quite recently. It's not that I know everything, but I thought I should share what I have learned with all of you. Often you would see. So, what I'll cover in this podcast is the role of muscles, importance, not how to build it. Importance of muscles, what it does as an endocrine organ in terms of interactions with other organs in the body, and a little bit about, let's say, muscle metabolism, right? And kind of related to fat storage and glucose, etc. So we'll talk a little bit about that and wrap it up, right? And hopefully you'll be motivated to build more of it at the end of this class, end of this podcast. Sorry. Cool. In general, when we think of our body, we think of as brain as an important organ, liver as an important organ, or heart, etc. Right? Nobody really thinks of, oh, muscle is a very important organ. In fact, you should start thinking of your skin, your muscle, etc., as a very important organ in your body. Right? It's not just about your looks and vanity. It's a very vital part of your body, and we'll look at it from various angles of longevity, immunity, disease prevention, and also fat loss, right? So we'll look at multiple angles, and also even depression combatant, or memory improvements, cognitive improvements, etc. So we'll start with muscle as an endocrine organ. I'll just quickly talk about it. So what happens is when you contract a muscle, something called as myokines, signaling proteins secreted by skeletal muscles during contraction. So these are released by your skeletal muscles whenever you contract. Now, what are these type of myokines? I'll quickly touch upon them, not go into great detail because even I'm not an expert at these topics. One is called as IL-6, anti-inflammatory versus pro-inflammatory from fat. This one you would have heard, BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, supports brain function, cognition, mood, etc. Third one, irisin, stimulates fat browning, improves metabolism. This is that white fat, into brown fat metabolism. Then you have myostatin, regulates muscle growth, high levels limit growth. So your muscles literally, they are saying that it talks to your brain, liver, fat tissues, telling them how to behave. So let's all look at muscle and metabolic health. I spoke about, promised you that we'll talk about that. Whatever energy we need, it comes through the food that we have, right? Of course, you have protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Now, every all of this energy, the glucose that we that gets in the bloodstream, glucose in the bloodstream, there is only a certain limit level of blood glucose that you can have. That everybody knows. Rest of it has to be stored somewhere. Now, it so happens that an adequate amount will be stored in the liver, glycogen, and more amount, almost 3x, 4x of that amount of glycogen will be stored in your muscles. Rest of it, when you eat extra and it becomes your glucose, what happens to that? It becomes fat. So think of, how do I put it? Think of a safe storage in the liver, and then another safe storage called, let's say, fridge, slightly larger storage. It goes and fills up the liver. Okay, I don't know what else to do. I'm getting more glucose into the bloodstream. Let me put that in the fridge. Oh, the fridge is getting overflowing, or there's no more capacity to keep. Let me go on, put in the fat cells, right? Now, that is how the fatness actually accumulates, which means you are eating more. And if you have And liver has a limited capacity, right? We'll look at what is the capacity of liver versus muscles as well. But so this kind of has a lot of correlation to the amount of food and the type of food that you eat, and also more about insulin. But I'll do that as a separate topic, maybe a week or two down the line. So think of muscle as a great reservoir or a dam, which can store a lot of water that is coming due to rain. Right now is Kaveri season. Karnataka will release water to Tamil Nadu from the dams that it was stored. The same way your body is storing glycogen in the muscles, because that is the largest reservoir of your glucose from the blood, right? And of course, it helps you with diabetes prevention and insulin resistance. Now, obviously, lifting weights has been shown to even reverse diabetes or even pre-diabetes, even without much fat loss, right? So you need to keep this in mind. Muscles are a great reservoir of glucose, something that you should remember, which gives you enough incentive to build muscle, right? Third part, we spoke about immunity and illness. We'll come to that now. Muscle will help you, which actually protect you from illnesses and also help you recover from illnesses, including chronic ones, much faster. That is also proven by a lot of research. During any severe illness, your body will break down muscle to fuel the immune responses. So obviously, the more tank you have or the reservoir you have, muscle you have, the better your resilience and faster recovery in terms of in most illnesses that you will encounter in life, including it is cancer and other chronic illness. That's what the research says. It's a great predictor of your longevity and your survival. So think of it as a savings account reservoir all the time. Okay. You also spoke about muscle and brain health, so I'll just quickly touch upon it. We spoke about brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So exercise-linked myokines like BDNF improve your memory, reduce your depression, anxiety, and also helps you with cognition and other parts of. So anytime your muscle is contracting, it is boosting a lot of blood flow to the brain, oxygen to the brain, and blood flow to the brain, which obviously is very important for your brain to function very, very well. And that's the reason resistance training in particular, and also aerobic, is very strongly linked to better cognitive health in adults. So something like strong body and strong mind. That's the biology behind this often used cliche. Muscle and longevity hacks. Higher, another quick facts, I'll just go. Higher muscle mass equals lower all-cause mortality. Higher grip strength is a great proxy for, again, longevity. So that's also known. Elderly with better quad strength is lower risk of falls and nursing home care. Okay, these are some facts that I got it from the tools. Okay, cool. So now I'll go into some bit of FAQs because we covered a lot of technical aspects, and a lot of us, a lot of you, curious minds might have some questions. Oh, he didn't explain this part. I'm not getting it properly. So these were the questions that I had when I was researching on this topic, and I noted them down as questions. I'll walk through them one by one. Be patient till the end. We spoke about muscles talking to brain, liver, fat tissue. So I want to understand, why do they need to talk, and telling them in terms of how to behave. So this is what it does. It's specifically related to myokines, right? With respect to the brain, BDNF, I already told you, improves cognition, memory, and mood. And there is something called as IL-6, and other myokines can reduce depression, enhance neuroplasticity. The neuroplasticity we've already covered in many other topics, but this is something you should remember. Coming to liver, IL-6 can influence glucose metabolism and enhance insulin sensitivity. Other myokines can reduce fat synthesis in the liver. Cool. Then coming to the fat adipose tissues. Irisin, which is another myokine, helps convert white fat to brown, increasing calorie burn. It's pretty simple. So now we understood the fact of contraction, myokines, and how these myokines are flowing to different parts of your body in terms of and impacting the way the behavior is handled, right? So this is something that I wanted you to know. Another question a lot of us will have is, fine, our body has multiple stores to store energy, right? Ultimately, glucose is in the blood, and then you have it is stored in the liver in some form, muscles in some form. The rest of it goes into any excess, obviously becomes fat. It doesn't matter what macros you have. The questions people might have is, what is my body's capacity? That's a great question to have. So let's look at it. I asked the same question to ChatGPT. Does muscle store more glycogen than liver? If so, how much? Yes, skeletal muscle stores significantly more glycogen than the liver. So skeletal muscle stores about 300 to 500 grams, varies by training level and body size. Liver stores about 80 to 100 grams. So you can effectively see anywhere from 3x to 5x more times than the liver is what a muscle can store. Obviously, when you have larger muscles, then can even afford to eat a little more, have that extra gulab jamun or some sugary item, can satisfy your taste, but you'll still be fine. Right? Cool. What else? Yeah, another aspect that I learned is muscle glycogen is used locally by the muscle for energy during activity, especially anaerobic activity like lifting or sprinting. You cannot share muscle glycogen with other organs. It's very selfish. Storage is for that muscle use only. So, effectively, how the body is functioning is pretty fascinating, right? The glycogen in the liver can be used or sent everywhere across the body, whereas the glycogen that is stored in the muscle will be used only by that muscle, or it will just remain there for eternity, right? That is what it says. Uh, so this is a very fascinating fact. Is contraction based myokine release only from resistance training or other activities? That's a question that you might have. How do I contract the muscle? Should I just do this, lift weights, or walk, run, or is it done during normal activity? Cool. So the answer is pretty straightforward. Types of movement that stimulate myokine releases. Resistance training, most important. It says this is the number one most potent form of releasing myokines. Number two, endurance training, jogging, cycling, etc. And then third one is walking, dancing, little bit of body weight exercises, calisthenics and squats. The fourth one is HIIT and moderate intensity cardio. However, the intensity, duration, and muscle mass involved will affect how much and which myokines are released. So that is also very important, right? So it says IL-6 is released rapidly during endurance and cardio plus resistance workouts. BDNF is levels rise significantly during aerobic activities. Irisin is elevated by both aerobic and resistance, but research suggests that high intensity or full body workouts may release more. Now, if you have any question on what I need to do to have these contraction going and myokines getting released by your muscles, the answer is pretty straightforward. It is a mix of resistance training and cardio, right? So that's your answer. Another question that you might actually have is, okay, so this is something I asked. Why is the muscle glycogen selfish? If liver is able to contribute to the overall utilization of multiple organs in my body, why? And if the muscle is unutilized, let's say nobody is exercising, but I've already stored some glycogen in the organ biceps, triceps, etc., and it's remaining unused. I'm not exercising, etc. Why can't that be used for energy? So this is a great answer that I found. Muscle cells lack the enzyme glucose 6 phosphatase, which is essential to release glucose back into the bloodstream. So it's almost like it seems like a one way. Oh, I'll take it, but I never give it back to the bloodstream, right? Liver glycogen can be broken down to glucose, sent to the bloodstream, used by brain, red blood cells, and other tissues. Muscle glycogen is broken down into glucose for the muscle cell itself. That is, it's like a local storage, like a cache or a local storage. Only that specific muscle can use it. So now this brings to an important part. Now, the question you might have is, oh, I'll just build it once and leave it. Now, what happens? Now, imagine. So this is a very tricky part when you want to understand more of metabolism. And if let's say you are somebody who's wondering, I'm eating a lot of healthy food, but I'm still not losing weight, or I'm adding a lot of fat in my tummy or buttocks or let's say other parts, right? Why is it happening now? If you are not using your muscles, but you have stored, and liver is also storing glycogen. Anything, remember I told you first, anything that you eat extra, the extra calories, extra glucose, where will it go? Exactly, right? So it starts becoming fat again. So this is the order, right? Liver, muscles, everything is full. So your safe storage vault is full. Your fridge is also full. Then it spills all over the house or the kitchen, however you want to look at it. That's when you start accumulating fat. Now, to beat this process, what you need to do is you keep working out in such a way that your liver's glycogen gets replenished the same way your muscles glycogen gets used for using that body part and then gets replenished, in which case the muscle is also growing over a period of time, and also you have enough time to build more or store more glycogen, or the reservoir is becoming bigger and bigger. Okay, great. Look at the awesome rain that's happening. The screen is getting a little wet, but I'll finish it pretty quick. So this is very important. So they call it as, gluconeogenesis, creating glucose from non-carbs like amino acids, muscle breakdown, etc. Ketogenesis, liver starts making ketone bodies, fat oxidation burns more fat for energy, etc. So if you really want to burn, so the way people look at things, right, everybody says, I want to lose weight. It actually, that is not the right way to look at things. Based on what I've explained, you should always be looking at losing fat, and then you should say, what is the way to lose fat? You should build muscles. That's the answer, right? It's very clear. Since you know the order of storage, you also know the order of depletion. It is pretty clear that if you uh, eat right, of course, I'll come to insulin food in a new session, like I said, but muscle is a non-negotiable aspect of you maintaining your longevity, better health, and also making sure your fat storage is also very minimal, which is ideally, just enough required for you to survive if other options are not there. Because when your muscle glycogen, your liver glycogen, etc., is getting used, then when the body needs more energy, that's when it starts dipping into your fat cells, breaking them down, and then using it for energy, ketosis, etc., supplies to brains. And that's the concept. Obviously, you'll find many of the let's say dietitians or wellness gurus or gym gurus explain in much more detail. They are more knowledgeable than me, but I thought I'll just give you a high level knowledge of different terminologies and things that you should be knowing. So essentially, liver glycogen, muscle glycogen, then we spoke about gluconeogenesis, and then we spoke about ketones. These are the four ways in which body can generate energy for, or glucose for your energy, right? So that is pretty much. Now, another question that people might have is, okay, is my muscle glucose reservoir unlimited? Can I keep on adding to it? I think there is a limit to it. Yes, you can add a little bit, but a typical muscle, it seems, can store 1 to 2% of its weight in glycogen. So overall, we saw about 400 to 500 grams is what it can store. So obviously, it seems to be 1 to 2% of weight in glycogen. Of course, if you keep training more, you can increase the capacity slightly, but it is not like an unlimited reservoir that will keep growing. That will not happen. Uh, Cool. What else? So, in summary, I think we've covered pretty much why muscle is required, why it is a very large endocrine organ, how it interacts with liver, fat cells, and also with your brain. We spoke about myokines, we spoke about contractions, we spoke about capacity, we spoke about order of storing energy, and then order of utilizing the energy or glucose from the body to have that energy. So, that is pretty much what you need to understand. Otherwise, the glycogen or is going to stay in your muscle for long, and that is not good for you. Which means what you need to do: rain or shine, after the session, keep moving, lift some weights, get to the gym. And also, for people who are interested, however old they are, it doesn't matter if they are 20 or 75 or 80. Everyone needs to move. Everyone needs to lift weights. If this information, whatever I shared today, was very useful, which I think was very useful for me when I did the research, please share it with your friends and family, more importantly. And subscribe to my channel if you still haven't. It will help me do more videos. More importantly, get out and build some muscle. I'll see you next week with some other interesting topic. Mostly it will be on why there is a loss of masculinity in the world and what needs to be done. I'll see you next week.